Hi, I am a soft skills trainer from the Department of Career Planning and Development, and today's topic is substitution and elimination. In simple words, what is substitution? When we substitute a word with another word or another form. So basically, what is the purpose of substitution? In speaking and in writing, we try to avoid repeating words and phrases or clauses. So we use substitution forms to do this. Now let me give you a small example for the same so that you are able to understand this better. Like we have a dialogue here on the screen where you can see two people are having a dialogue. So let's have a look at that. Person A says, Pam always brings us back chocolates when she travels. B says, oh nice. A says, she bought some Belgian ones from her last trip which were delicious. And B says, lucky you. Now A uses ones to avoid repeating chocolates, right? She can, if she was not using substitution word, she would have said she bought some Belgian ones, or she can say she bought some Belgian chocolates from her last trip. So chocolate word is not repeated over and over, so we use a substitution word so that it doesn't become boring and repetitive. So that is why we use substitution words. Okay, so let's continue with this dialogue. It says, A has a problem with her computer. A, do you think I should phone Barry and ask him to come and look at it? B, yes, do. So B here uses do to avoid repeating the phone Barry and ask him to come and look for it. Like that is a substitution. The word do is actually a substitution for the whole sentence so that you don't have to repeat it again. So we can use substitution to basically refer backwards or forwards as well. So forward substitution is far less common than backwards substitution, by the way. For example, if you need them, there are nails in the toolbox. Now that is a forward substitution. If you need them, there are nails in the toolbox. So them here comes first before the nails in the toolbox, right? So that's forward substitution. Let's look at the other one. A large saucepan is what we need for making jam, but I don't have one. That is backward substitution because one comes after the full sentence and the second half. I hope you're getting me. So what forms can we use in substitution? Well, we can use many different words and phrases in substitution. So including words such as both or either or some or basically infinite qualifying pronouns, do and so, and expressions such as the same and thus. So these are the words that can be used. Indefinite quantifying pronouns. Now let's have a look at that. The following words that you are seeing in the column below are basically phrases phrases that are commonly used as substitutes. What are these words? Little, each, less, one or ones, another, either, many, other, all, enough, such, several, any, few, neither, and some. Also both, half and none is a part of it. The substitute do. Let's have a look at the substitute one. So again we are going to be I'm going to be showing you a dialogue that actually helps understand the usage of the word one. For example, A says, there's this card with a clown on it and this one with a monkey. Which do you think Mark would prefer? So B says, I think he'd like either. So A says, does he have a lot of friends at work? B says, no, not one. Now here's where you can see the usage of one, okay? And he's using one for friends and also one for cards, right? Let's have another example. Substituting do, the word do. We use do, do so, do it, the same to substitute for a verb and whenever it accompanies it. So basically, let me show you an example again. A says, we have loads of coffee in the morning, and B says, we do too. I can't function without it in breakfast. Okay, so do substitutes for have toast and coffee in the morning. So that entire sentence of I also have toast and coffee in the morning is substituted by the word do. Let's have a look at do as a substitute verb. Well, substituting with, now let's have a look at so as a substituting verb. We can use so as a substitute in a number of ways. For an adjective, as an object clause, and as an exclamation also. So let's have a look. Substitute for nouns. Let's have a look at that. One, some, ones. Right? These are the other substitutes for nouns. One, some, ones. We mostly use one and some and ones in substitute for countable nouns. Like, for example, she tried to get a ticket but she couldn't get one. Okay, so that one represents the word ticket. Let's have a dialogue again so that it's easier for you to understand. A says, is there a bookshop around here? B says, there are two second-hand ones at the end of the street on the right. So ones again represent the word bookshops. Where there is nothing before and after one, some or any are used in a plural substitute. Like, for example, A says, have either of you got any £1 coins on this machine? And B says, let me see, I have definitely got some. And C says, I'm afraid I don't have any. So here for pounds or pound coins, we are using some and any. Let's have a look at indefinite quantifying pronouns like little, all, both, or neither. You know, we can use indefinite quantifying pronouns such as little, all, both, many, much, neither, few, to substitute for a noun phrase. Like, hundreds of people went to the village festival and all seemed to enjoy themselves very much. So here the word all is what we're using as indefinite quantifying pronoun. Okay. Now, for example, let's use that and those also. We can use that and those as substitutes, meanings. We can use that and those as substitutes, meaning the ones in more formal contexts. Like, for example, the water of the balcony, the water for the factory was that for the local the water from the factory was that from the local reservoir. Again, the water from the factory was that from the local reservoir. Or the books he read were those which he found in the library. Or in formal contexts, especially in academic style, we use that of, those, and of. For example, the head has a similar shape and the size to that of a manual. So that of is what we use as in the formal context. Basically, when you're writing, a sentence should not contain unnecessary words. It should be very concise. A paragraph with no unnecessary sentences for the same reason is considered to be a concise paragraph, as drawing should have no unnecessary lines. So that is how it is looked at. When you end up repeating words too many times, the conciseness of the paragraph or the sentence or the dialogue does not happen, and thus it makes it look very off. Let's have a look at some other topics. Now let's have a look at pruning the redundancy. Now, what is redundancy? Redundancy is basically repetitiveness, right? Avoid saying the same thing twice. So many Example, many uneducated citizens who have never attended school continue to work for better schools. Now here, do you see the difference in the sentence? I'll repeat the sentence again. Okay. Many uneducated citizens who have never attended school continue to vote for the better schools. Now, when you look at this sentence, many uneducated citizens, when you say uneducated, it obviously means people who have not gone to school. So why do we have to say many uneducated citizens who have never attended school? That is redundancy, right? So we have to make sure that we only speak a word that does not repeat the meaning. A phrase that repeats itself, like true fact or 12 noon, I saw it with my own eyes. I mean, these are the phrases that we generally use in our regular conversation, which is of course something we shouldn't use. Okay. So let's have a look at some redundant phrases that we have. For example, we use a lot of phrases in our regular language, in our casual language. We don't even realize that we are, repeating ourselves. Like, let's have a look at the table here. 12 midnight. The lean version of it is midnight, as in you have to say either midnight or, midnight means 12 o'clock at night, right? 12 noon. So if you say noon, that obviously means 12 o'clock, right? 3 a.m. in the morning, or you can say only 3 a.m. That also works, but why do you have to say 3 a.m. in the morning? 3 a.m. means it is in the morning. Okay, absolutely spectacular, phenomenal. So spectacular and phenomenal can be used independently. You don't have to use absolutely along with it. A person who is honest, an honest person. You can say an honest person. You cannot say you shouldn't say a person who is honest. You have a shorter version for it, of course. A total of 12 birds. You can just say 14. A total of 14 birds. You can only say, or you can always say 14 birds, right? Why do you have to say a total? You are talking about a full number, 14 words. You don't have to use the word total in front of it. Biography of her life. You can say biography, because biography means story of her life. Next is circle around. Now, when you say circle around, what is a circle? It goes around, right? So why do you have to say circle around? It can only be circle. Close proximity. It should not be close proximity, because proximity means close. So it has to be only proximity. Completely unanimous. So you can say unanimous because it obviously means it is complete in anonymity. So it has to be unanimous. Consensus of opinion. Now, consensus means people who have the same opinion or have agreed upon the same thing. So that means consensus. You don't have to say consensus of opinion. Cooperate together. You just have to say cooperate. That's the word that you need to use for it. Each and every can only be used as each. Now let's have a look at some abbreviated redundancies. When I say abbreviated redundancies, there are certain abbreviations that we use in our daily life, which and we use them in a way that we should either use the abbreviation or we should use it, use the word that goes with it. For example, we say ATM machine. ATM means automated teller machine. Why are we saying go get some money from the automated go get some money from the ATM machine? It has to be ATM. You should not use the word machine after it. Or for example, AIDS virus. Well, when you say he's got the AIDS virus, that should not be the way it's said, because AIDS is basically, it is it's a virus, and it's acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So you should not say that it's an AIDS virus, because it is a syndrome, right? CPU unit. Now this is something, a very common mistake that we use. CPU unit, because it says, because what is the full form of CPU? It's central processing unit. So when we say central processing unit, and it's like we are saying central processing unit, which is again redundant. So CD disk. This is again something that we don't use any these days, but again this is the kind of abbreviation we use. So you should only say CD, not CD disk. So these were the abbreviations that we end up using, and these are and I just spoke to you about in detail about the kind of abbreviations that we can use in order to make sure that we are not redundant in our speech or writing. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching.